Well, good morning, good afternoon. This is Brian with the Horror Experience back with another movie. Today is July 10th, 2024, and this is, I believe, video number 180, 180, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the movie I wanted to cover today is one that I actually lost in my collection, which I had mentioned in a previous video. And that was Annabelle Comes Home from 2019. In fact, it wasn't even opened. I had it in my collection. I actually had it on my list on an order that I was going to be sending out, that I was going to be ordering on my last order. And I just so happened to be cleaning out one of my shelves right before I placed the order, and I was lucky. I mean, we're talking about luck. I see this sticking out in the back, way in the back of one of my shelves. It's like row 4. I have one shelving that actually contains 4 rows of movies. So there's probably 300 or 400 movies on one shelf, just on one shelf. And this happened to be sticking out, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I pull it out, and it's Annabelle Comes Home, which just so happened to be the movie that was on my list that I was going to order. So I did have it. And this whole time I thought I was missing it from my Conjuring Universe collection. I'm still missing The Nun 2 and The Conjuring 3, which is also known as The Devil Made Me Do It. I think that was 2021, I think, but I need to get that. They are working on a Conjuring 4, which is supposed to be out next year in September, so be ready. In fact, September 5th, 2025, we're supposed to be seeing the final Conjuring. Of course, they always say that, right? The final this, the final that, and it's nowhere near the final one. You just keep on going. Anyway, so here we have Annabelle in this movie, which was a lot of fun. I had a blast with this one. It's kind of a babysitter movie with a really cool supernatural demonic twist. So kind of brings you back to the old time feel, kind of a nostalgic 80s slasher type babysitter type feeling, kind of like Halloween or something, but this time instead of having a slasher, you have a demon. And he is using Annabelle, the doll, as a conduit. Now, this demon is named Malthus. And we don't really know exactly where this name came from because it's not part of the 72 demons that are in these old writings from like the 1600s that have 72 demons that had fallen with Lucifer when God had basically had cast Lucifer out. Lucifer took a bunch of angels with him, and Volok was one of them, who's not mentioned in the Bible, but that I know of, but it is mentioned in these ancient writings of Solomon. Volok was actually the demon that they used for the nun. He just so happened to be using the nun as his disguise, but he's actually, his real form is a young boy demon who rides on a dragon. So, but these demons can take any form they want. And Malthus has no problem doing that. He does it several times. Anyway, one of the girls in this, there's 2 girls involved here that live in the neighborhood where Ed and Lorraine Warren live, and they know the daughter, the little daughter of the Warrens. And they ask for these 2 girls to babysit while they go out. And they're going to be out for, I don't remember where they went. I watched the movie last night, but I did get up and I had a few interruptions. You know how it goes. And so I missed out on that part of it, which is fine. I just need to go back and rewatch this again. But they left, and leaving the two teenage girls in charge of the little girl, who happens to be fairly well schooled in the demonology and so on, like her father and mother are. But anyway, obviously they've got this room that is completely off limits and has all of these haunted objects in it, and that room does in fact exist and still does exist to this day as we speak, even though I believe both Lorraine and Ed are gone now, but I know she is. She died in the early 2000s, but I don't remember if he's still around or not. Didn't really check on that. But anyway, the room is still in existence, and it still has Annabelle in it. Now the only difference is instead of using a demon like they did in the movies, Ed and Lorraine chose. You see how I chose to use that word? Well, that's because I don't believe it. There's too many loose ends with this Annabelle doll. They named it Annabelle after a little girl who died named Annabelle Higgins, who we just can't find. You can't find anybody named Annabelle Higgins. I mean, there might be somebody, but it's not anybody that's supposedly associated with this doll. This was a girl named Annabelle Higgins that apparently died who knows when, and decides to use this doll, this Raggedy Ann doll, as a place to hang out, and possesses this doll. Supposedly there's nothing really evil about the little girl. It's just she's lost and in limbo, and decides to use the doll as a home. Why they decided to basically keep it in this, apparently this escape-proof case that they keep the doll in, is really kind of a mystery. I guess a lot of things were occurring with the doll, and I'm sorry, but I have a lot of problems with a lot of the investigations that Ed and Lorraine got involved in, including the haunting in Connecticut investigation, which was ultimately discovered to be completely a hoax. But it makes a really good story, and they even did a documentary about it, which I thought was outstanding, even though it never really happened. Something happened, but it wasn't as outrageous as they make it out to be, and of course the movie makes it even more outrageous. It's always about, it's this old, torture, laboratory where people were tortured, or it's an old morgue, or an Indian burial ground, or, we always have to have this overused theme to give us an excuse as to why it's haunted. Demons in the Amityville house because of the murders that possessed DeFeo Jr. into killing his family, and that demon happens to still be in the house, and it haunted the Lutz for 28 days, and they wrote all their experiences, which became a book written by Jay Anson, who published the book a few years later. But it was, which then became movies, and of course money's being made and still being made. So anyway, that's really what this is about. It's about making money, and all of this good old stuff makes good movies and good books and good stories. And it's not that I don't believe in this kind of stuff. I do believe in it, but you can just tell when ends aren't meeting, something's not right. There's a lot of storytelling here. There's a lot of tall stories, fisherman tales, big fish. Anyway, so with the movie versus the actual Annabelle, which is supposedly haunted by a girl, the movie uses the doll as a conduit for this Malphus demon who uses, when you open the case, in which, of course, one of the girls gets curious, goes into the off-limits room with all the haunted artifacts and opens the case, releasing Malphus. And now he's out to get souls, and he torments the girls, the three girls throughout the movie. And it is a blast. It is fun. It's great. I thought the Malphus demon looked really cool, played by Alexander Ward. He also played the ferryman, who is this Grim Reaper-looking character. Alex is this tall, skinny, 6'4" guy who just looks really good in the makeup, and he looks like a really good demon. Awesome. Really looks cool. Malphus was made up, but Volok, which is the nun, was actually on the list of 72 demons that supposedly got thrown out with Lucifer. Now, this is fun, though. Fun movie. And a lot of good jump scares. They keep you on the edge of your seat. Just real, fun, basic Conjuring stuff that is fun. And they throw enough new stuff into it to keep you entertained. Malphus, in being released, also releases all these other spirits that are associated with all of the other objects that are in the room. And one of the producers, I think it was one of the producers, had actually worked on Aquaman and brought a bunch of props into this room from the Aquaman movie to kind of, just kind of add to the artifacts that are there. It was pretty interesting stories. But I love the movie. And the special features were great. It goes through the makeup, it goes through the demon makeup and all of that, including the other characters that were in the movie, with the people with the coins in their eyes, and the ferryman and the demon. And it was pretty involved movie, and very fun. Directed by Gary, I want to say Doberman. He seemed like a cool guy, and very, very serious about what he does, and I think he did a great job on it. Anyway, I recommend this for sure. Annabelle Comes Home. If you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen any of the Conjuring movies in the series or in the franchise, I would definitely check them out. Now, the movies that are involved are the Conjuring movies, Conjuring 1, 2, and 3. 3 is also called The Devil Made Me Do It. You also have The Nun 1 and 2, and Annabelle Comes Home, Annabelle, and Annabelle Creation. And then somebody said that The Curse of La Llorona is in there. I actually own that movie, but I have never included it with this franchise. But it's a standalone film. I don't know how it associates to this. I really don't, unless some of the movie makers that were involved in the Conjuring universe got involved in that. I have no idea. I have to look more into that. But I noticed that when you type up the movies in the Conjuring, you want to know how many movies were made, what their names were, and when they were released. The Curse of La Llorona is on there. So that's kind of a strange thing. Good movie, though. It's an interesting movie. I have a whole bunch of La Llorona films. Most of them are low budgies, but they're fun. And anyway, check this out. It's definitely fun. Anyway, there's Conjuring 1 through 3, with a fourth one coming in September of next year. September 5th of next year. Of 2025, we're going to be having Conjuring 4, which is supposed to be the last one. Whether or not the Annabelle and Nun films are going to keep going, I'm not sure. Or if they're just going to quit altogether after the fourth one, or if they're just pulling your ass hairs. It's very possible that they could be just pulling your ass hairs, like they do with every, like Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and all the other stuff. Final this, final that, bullshit. We got another one coming. All right, the next movie that I'm going to be covering in the next video is going to be Maniac from 1980, directed by William Lustig, and written and acted, and main actor Joe Spinell, who has a very interesting career, to say the least. Sadly, he died young, but he did a lot. And Maniac was by far one of his best, I think. At any rate, we are going to be talking about Maniac. This was the Blu-ray DVD, or the Blu-ray DVD. This was the Blue Underground release. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the remake of Maniac starring Elijah Wood. I really thought this was going to be a piece of shit when I saw his face on that. No offense, Elijah. I like your characters and everything else, but he nailed it. So the movie was very fun. I enjoyed it. I also want to talk a little bit about serial killers in reality, and where are serial killers today? How come we don't hear about any anymore? So we're going to get into that a little bit too. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Later.